This story is based on a true incident that happened to a pizza delivery boy. This incident happened to John when he was working a part-time job at a small pizza shop during his college days. One night, around 1 a.m., when John was about to leave for home after finishing his shift, the pizza shop's phone suddenly rang. John picked up the phone, and there was a man speaking in a very weak voice, placing an order. At first, John thought of refusing to take the order because the pizza shop's closing time had already passed. However, when the man ordered 4 large-size pizzas, John decided to take the order because large orders usually resulted in a good tip, and John needed money. So he quickly picked up the pizzas and set out for delivery. The delivery address was quite far from the pizza shop, towards the outskirts of the city. It was already late at night, and the road was deserted. The road was unpaved, surrounded by wild trees and plants on both sides. There were no streetlights working, making the entire area dark. After driving for some time, John reached the address. It was an old, eerie-looking house located in a forested area. None of the lights in the house were on, and there was no sign of movement. It looked as if the house had been abandoned for years. John felt a bit uneasy looking at the house and decided to call his manager to explain the situation and leave. However, his manager did not answer the call. If John returned with the 4 pizzas without informing his manager, he knew his manager would be very angry and might even deduct his salary. So, after trying multiple times and still not getting a response from his manager, he decided to approach the house and attempt the delivery. As John stepped forward, a light inside the house suddenly turned on. This gave him some confidence that perhaps someone was inside. He rang the doorbell and called out, "Pizza delivery!" But no one answered. He rang the bell again, and this time, he heard footsteps from inside. However, no one opened the door. Just as John was about to leave, the door creaked open on its own. Feeling nervous, he stepped inside. The hall was dimly lit, and no one was there. John called out, "Hello? Hello? Is anyone here? Please take your pizza." Just then, he saw a black cat rush out from under the sofa and run toward a room. The moment the cat entered the room's light and TV suddenly turned on, and the sound of children laughing mischievously filled the air. John felt that someone was playing a prank on him. Frustrated, he walked into the room and saw 2 little girls sitting there, staring at him strangely. John, annoyed, asked why they hadn't opened the door despite him ringing the bell multiple times. But the girls remained silent, continuing to stare at him. John then said, "I am here to deliver the pizza. Is there any adult in the house who can make the payment?" Suddenly, the girls' eyes turned completely white, and their silence transformed into eerie laughter. They pointed toward a door behind John. When John turned around, he was horrified. The 4 pizza boxes fell from his hands because right in front of him stood a terrifying, shadowy figure of a woman. Seeing this, John began trembling with fear. Somehow, he managed to run toward his bike and escape. As he fled, the shadowy woman and the 2 girls stood at the doorstep, watching him leave. John had only gone a short distance when he suddenly felt his bike malfunctioning. The bike started making strange noises and then completely stopped. Panicked, John got off to check and found that the tire was punctured. Terrified, he called the police for help. As he waited for the police, he happened to glance at his bike's rearview mirror. What he saw made his blood run cold. Behind him stood the shadowy woman and the 2 girls, slowly moving towards him. John immediately abandoned his bike and ran into the forest, desperate to escape. He ran until he was exhausted and hid behind a large tree, praying for his life. A few moments later, he heard police sirens in the distance. Summoning all his remaining strength, he ran back toward his bike. When he reached his bike, he saw that the police were already investigating the scene. He explained everything to the officers and took them to the house. However, upon searching, the police found nothing inside except a stray cat. The next morning, John learned that the house had been abandoned for the past 2 to 3 years. More disturbingly, 3 years ago, a woman and her 2 young daughters had lived in that house. But one day, they were mysteriously murdered. Hearing this, John was utterly shocked. He realized that the people he had seen that night were the ghosts of the woman and her daughters, who were still trapped in that house. However, he never understood who had placed the order that night. After this horrifying incident, John quit his job as a pizza delivery boy. But whenever he remembers that night, he shivers in fear.